Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for the Wot Supp podcast. With your host, Stu, OG Industry Shannon, and Will warren-davey, new school formulator extraordinaire. We're talking all things supplements with insiders, athletes, experts, and more. So sit back, relax, and prepare to find out what's up.
Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Wot Supp podcast. Today it is the three OGs, the three amigos that started it all with your first and favourite Stu, Shannon, and of course Matthew Highgate, the gentleman who helped us fund and start all of this operation. This is really exciting to get.
I didn't want to steal your thunder. You guys are doing such a great job, so I stood in the background watching, observing.
I noticed you put my name out there as the favourite. I don't know where that came from, but but I'll take it.
You're just the guy who actually knows how to make this stuff happen. I'm a bit of a tech retard, so.
He's the one that came up with the name in the car park. Remember?
No, that was Will. Will came up with the name, and I just ran with it. Yeah. I just stole the idea.
Yeah.
And they actually made decent content around it. So really, it's Man, I tell you what though, I didn't think it's grown. It's grown bloody epically, hasn't it?
Well, you're getting questions now about the podcast, right? You were telling me a few days ago, right, Will?
Yeah, man. It's been quite cool actually watching it grow. I'm actually hearing it now. Whenever I'm bringing around the sort of 100 or so stores that I sort of work with, I'll bring around and they're like, oh, so, listen to this episode, particularly Gorilla last week. That a lot of people tuned into that one on the different platforms and. Yeah, it was just really, really cool, man. Like, you'll film it and you'll put the content up and people are asking you about it. Literally the next day. It's mental. It's great to see where it's come because we all just started this just to help with the, where it all started with the TGA sort of thing. The initial movement, again, they're trying to shut us down and now it's sort of evolved, hey?
Yeah, I'm finding the same thing. Something that I'm finding really cool is people that I look up to in the industry that I've obviously, had interactions with over the years, contacting me and saying, oh, I'd love to get on your podcast. So I'm now developing this really cool list of potential guests that we can have on. And I never thought some of these people would be interested in being on our little project. So it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's bloody awesome, isn't it? Seeing the organic growth behind it's really fun, man. And we owe a lot of that to Matt. You've had some cool people that you've crossed paths with your distributor. Your time in the game. So it's really helped that it's like last week was just 2 hours of just pure supplement geek gold with the Gorilla Chemist. That was unreal. Those sort of things are. I think that's a really cool service. A bit of value we can give out to people. We're putting out content. We deep dived on the actual data and studies and science for literally an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's valuable stuff. People will hopefully get a lot of value out of that. So
it was great to hear. Like he had some things to say about it was acetylcarnitine that doesn't work. What was that?
I don't think so much. It was the fact that it doesn't work. I think it was more the point that what it's being used for is incorrect. So we've got some really, really great data on acetyl-L-carnitine for its nootropic benefits for cognition and so on and so forth. But basically what he was saying is it's being advertised as the answer for fat burning, but there's no direct link there between acetyl-L-carnitine and fat burning per se.
It's sort of like I guess it's just you think of it as the enzyme, I suppose, that helps it happen. So. But it is really remarkable. I've actually started focusing on it more as a nootropic since then. It's also an absorption issue, like a bioavailability thing. So I think he was saying it's not so much that it's not effective. Like it does have a role in the body as a transporter of lipids, to be burnt. It's just the more so the issue is that the oral bioavailability is quite poor unless you have it with insulin, either exogenous or nutritional. It's unless you're having it with a big carby meal, getting an insulin spike to drive it in.
So something with RPG as an example from Redcon, like the GDA. Would you say that?
That'd be an interesting way of doing it. Actually, you could run a GDA with it. You'd still need a small amount of actual blood sugar to create that because I guess those sort of GDAs are really good at shuttling. They drive insulin sensitivity. You'd probably still need some sort of
So basically, so for your average punter, basically what needs to happen is there needs to be a lot of ducks lined up in order for acetyl-L-carnitine to have some sort of effect on fat loss. Is basically what the simplest way of putting it is. If you don't have all those ducks lined up, if one of those ducks is out of line, then it ain't going to work.
Pretty much. It's fun, but it is amazing. The nootropic angle, though, I've been playing with it lately because the nootropics really interest me, and I've been trying to put something together in that space as a bit of a project. And I think acetyl L-carnitine, guys, if you try that with in any other, you get a good nootropic formula and add acetyl L-carnitine, it becomes a great nootropic formula. Like it is.
You know, I've had a friend that did, I think, 6 grams or 4 grams, and he smelled like fish oil. Or smelled like fish. And he stunk so bad.
Yeah, I tell most people try not to go beyond 3 grams a day for most people. Going beyond 3 grams, you start to get a bit of a fishy body odor.
I actually figured out what that fish smell was because I wanted to know what that was, and it was a much more complicated answer than I thought it was. What it is it's to do with choline breakdown. Which makes sense because acetyl L-carnitine is an acetyl donor. It donates its acetyl group to choline, making acetylcholine in the brain, which is the thing that we want, right? But as that choline breaks down, if it goes down a certain pathway in the liver, it goes from being I think it's trimethylamine to TMA to TMAO, but that bad pathway to TMAO is what has this fishy smell when it breaks down. So the reason we have that fishy smell when we have a lot of L-carnitine, it's acting as a donor to a lot of choline. We're producing and we're burning through a lot of choline. Choline's getting oxidized and put down this pathway, and you get this. And the byproduct of that pathway is it has a fishy odor. So that's actually what makes fish smell like fish. Is once it's left the ocean. So in fresh fish should smell like the ocean, and then after they also microbes break down the choline in the body, create this TMAO. And this happens to give off that really strong fishy smell. So it's funny, like fish don't smell like fish. They smell like trimethylamine oxidase.
Fish smell like dead fish, right?
Ironic. And so do we with enough carnitine.
I don't know if you guys have ever trained with someone who has overdone it on the L-carnitine, but you can't train beside someone who's been using too much of it. It's just wrong.
Or on a keto diet, hey, for a similar reason. Oh God, keto's always rough on it, but that's enough of a rabbit hole. I just thought since we had that chat, I went away and I went, I need to figure out what's behind all this stuff. And that fishy smell is something we always hear in store. Hey, like all three of us are retail based. Like how many times have you heard that with people? Like one, they don't like the taste, and two, it's the fishy smell that they don't dig. So
how can you not like the taste of acetyl L-carnitine though? Like it's literally like white vinegar. Put it on your hot chips, mate. It's the best.
I quite enjoy it, man. I'm adding it to some BCA, so I just throw it in some other stuff these days, and I quite like the little tangy stuff that it adds to it. It gives it a nice little acidity to the profile, you know. Quite enjoy it.
All right, so Big Will, a lot of people don't know about yourself and Stu, how you guys started. So this is why I got us together to talk about you guys and inform everyone. That I obviously know who you are and who Stu is, but I'd like to get you to share how you started, man, from the beginning.
Yeah, of course, dude. I guess we have brushed over that, haven't we? Because we've had such good guests on that it's not really the job of the podcast till now to sort of self promote. Like it was all about getting the valuable information that the guests have got. But,
right. Yeah.
I was actually a geologist. I did my degree in sort of environmental chemistry and geology, and I did my first 5 years out of uni as an environmental scientist in mining, and learning and doing that sort of thing. So I was more environmental chemistry was where I came from, and then mining. Unfortunately, there was a massive downturn just after I graduated, so I never really got a good run at that. I managed to get 5 years in the industry, got out of that as an actual scientist for 5 years, and then went into I thought, this is, I'm sick of mine sites. They're dreary, shitty industrial places. Everyone's cranky. No one sleeps enough. It ages you horribly.
Cortisol levels are up.
Yeah, cortisol's huge. I didn't know at the time that was what was making me crappy and sleepy. But so I just thought, it's just, you just got sick of waking up and hating your job, basically. And I got to work one day. They called me to site. I was from my normal 6 a.m. start. It was about a 2-hour drive away, so it was always like a 3 a.m. alarm. Got to site 6 a.m. They said, "Oh, righto, we're out of work for you. You're done." He said, "We've got and mining's very famous for making not really caring about people. Like it's you just get." So I rocked up, got made redundant that day. And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm out of work. What do I do? I've put 4-year degree and 5 years into this. What do I do?" And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to actually enjoy what I did? And in the background, I've always the sports supplement scene was pretty garbage at the time. Like the most comprehensive formulas around.
What year was this?
Oh, this would have been what was this ago? It would have been about three-ish, 4-ish years ago, I'd say.
Okay. Not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago.
You were in the military as well before that, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was in the army for 4 years before all that. That was quite fun too. So yeah, military was 4 years, mining 5 years, and then I jumped out of that and sort of wanted to do something I enjoyed, I suppose. But the supplement, I'd always trained as a hobby from about last 10 years I've been training, and it was always like a really fun hobby. But the more I actually started reading, I'm a bit of a geek, and I liked reading the actual panels. And then you'd having the chemistry background, I was like, all right, let's see what this stuff actually does that I'm taking. I like how I feel, but why do I feel this way? And so you read the ingredients, and very quickly then you read this cross-reference it, and you go, oh, nothing on any panel on any product is actually any good. Like nothing's dosed properly, you know. Like, and all three of us were around at that sort of era 5 years ago, where it's like the most comprehensive pump formula was like, I think it was Jekyll at the time. It was like half a gram of citrulline. Like 1/12 the effective dose of an amino acid. So that was the pump formula of the era. So yeah, look, I was just very unsatisfied. So I started mixing my own raws up, creatines, and I was big on creatine. I was big on citrulline malate back before they used to like arginine a lot back then.
Oh yeah, before we got exposed.
Yeah, before they realized. So that was arginine and agrotine were big back then. And so I sort of went more, but I always loved potassium nitrate and I always liked citrulline. So I started playing with those as just a straight raw amino acid. I'd mix those with some creatine and betaine and sort of.
Do you prefer L-citrulline or citrulline malate?
I prefer citrulline malate, not for the nitric oxide part, but the straight L-citrulline. Yeah, you've got the hepatic consumptions, it goes through the liver, gets converted to arginine. That's all cool. But the better part is with the malic acid that makes citrulline to citrulline malate, that feeds into the Krebs cycle. And they found that it increased your endurance, your point to failure by like 40%. So if it was huge. Like if you once you use your a decent enough dose, malic acid feeds into the Krebs cycle too. So you get the citrulline straight for the pump, and then you get the malic acid for the Krebs cycle, and you've got a lot of endurance and a lot of blood flow. So for a straight pump, straight L-citrulline, but you get a really good synergistic effect out of citrulline malate. So I've always run that from day one. But yeah, so I put these together, and I don't know what twigged it in my head, but I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to see if other people would like to try this? Because like no one had 6 grams of citrulline 5 years ago. It was and all these the fun little nootropics and stuff I was starting to play with. So I put together I just put them all into a tub, and I said, "Oh, look, I wonder if any mates would try it." And I literally just had a tub with pen written on it, just pre-workout by Will. Yeah. And I gave it to a mate, and it sort of blew people's faces off quite a lot because it was no one had a pump before really. At that point, no one had you had a food one, but no one's actually had like a juicy pump that they from a supplement, and it sort of got some really good feedback. And that was back when DMHA was around. Yeah. And so I went to a local factory and I went, oh, you know what? It'd be cool to, I wonder if this is a thing. And it took me a lot of reading. I read into how it would actually go from here because I'm like, how do I become just a dude with just a few bags of raws that I'm putting together for friends to actually like making this stuff? I guess I need a factory, right? So I started looking around, and they're not easy things to find. Like if you just Google supplement factory, none of them promote themselves. They're not advertised. They don't market themselves. It's a very well kept secret, this whole market.
Unless you're looking in the US, right? You can punch in if you want to find a contract manufacturer in the US.
Oh my God,
they're a dime a dozen now. But you're like a lot of the times there's basically like probably 5 main contract manufacturers in the US, and now you've got a lot of people outsourcing from them. So you could be paying like what you think is a contract manufacturer. They don't actually have their own manufacturing facility. They're outsourcing to one of the big 5 anyway. But I mean, it's just like it's not the way it's done now anyway. Like you really don't contract manufacture to the US anymore, and that's something that you
especially with the dollar,
way, right?
Oh yeah, the dollar's horrific, mate. Although it's rebounded really fast lately. It's gone from
it's almost 70 cents, right?
Yeah, and it literally cracked 70 the other day. I know, obviously you have to buy currency for a few % less when you convert it, but wow, that's huge. So that's up by 11 cents in 2 weeks. It's really really good sign the economy's.
It's funny how the economy's changed in 2 weeks, the past 2 weeks, right?
Oh,
the shares and stuff like that.
Well, it's what stopped me manufacturing in the US. So I manufactured here, and I was only on about 40K a year at the time, which I guess I haven't really beaten yet. But actually, I was on about 40K a year with this job that I was doing, and I was hating this job. But it was a job where you put businesses together. It was all business to business. Essentially, it was very similar to a sales rep job. and it was all about getting businesses trading with each other and making trading networks and trading loops. But it was an interesting job, but I really, again, didn't like that. But on the side, I started trying to do this bit of a hustle, and I thought, oh, bugger, I'll give it a go. Speak to the factory. Their minimums were, it was basically 20 grand was the minimum order I could do at that time. Also, I thought, being young and naive, turns out that's not the case. But that was what they told me, being young and green. So I went out, got a personal loan for 20 grand at the time when I was on 40K a year. And, went, cool, I'll buy this pre-workout. This will be great. Bought a pallet of pre. Unfortunately, they didn't know, they were a very small amateur outfit that didn't know how to stabilize pre-workouts. Because for any of the punters out there listening, pre-workouts have ingredients that enjoy water. So if any of you want to see what happens to a pre-workout that isn't blended well, say a jar of citrulline and just leave it open and just watch how quick
hydroscopic. It's one of the toughest things about formulating. A lot of people think about formulating for the first time and they only think about the actives, but there's a lot more that goes into any powdered product. We're talking about supplements here, but there's stabilizing products, there's anti-caking agents that we've got to look at. We then got to look at sweeteners, we then got to look at flavorings, and we've got to leave space in our formulas for all these things, and we've got to leave space at just the right amount so that it tastes perfect, it stays as a nice finite powder, and its shelf life is 2 years or more. So it's not an easy thing to do. Formulating is not as simple as, all right, let me chuck the best actives into this product.
Yeah. Especially trying to get the taste right. Like, how many people would say to you, oh, what does it taste like? It's like, if you want a product with clinically dosed ingredients, well, it's not going to taste the best. Let's be real.
Well, the guys who are really skilled can make a clinically dosed product that tastes good also, but
diamonds are very rare. They're really diamonds in the rough sort of thing to find, because it is good though, and I think it's been popularized finally because we've sort of come full circle where pre-workouts used to taste horrific. Remember, like the old days, the old mesomorph fruit punch was just a punch.
Oh, mate, you say the word fruit punch and I quiver a little bit and my stomach starts to turn.
Oh, dude, we all had to put up with years of that. And we went from when it was accepted that pre-workouts worked, but they tasted bad, to now where people want them to taste remarkable and be heavily dosed. And then now they sort of come full way where they go, okay, we accept that if things are fully dosed, sometimes they don't taste that great. So I tried, after speaking to Grilla last week, I thought, I'll try this pre-workout. It's very differently engineered. I'll try it the Chemix Pre. When you open it, it literally looks like dirt because you've got lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps. You've got, all these things that are, ankana, like actual dirt. Look, it's brown. It mixes terribly and it tastes really quite earthy, but it works. And when you read it, you're like, okay, I understand why this blended like this. But the punter, unfortunately, that we market to also wants something to taste like angel tears. So it's a tricky balance. And that took me a long time. So my first few products, I've done about 5 rebrands to get it where it is. And the first 3, I focused purely on formula and stability after that first bunch that I bought.
So tell us about what happened with that first bunch, because you didn't sort of really, I cut you off, I think, there before you got to tell us. So your pallet of stock arrives. What do you discover?
I'm super excited. And I was lucky enough at that stage. I'd been training for a fair while around this Newcastle area where I'm sort of, my family farms are sort of around here. So most of my mates are in the Newcastle and the Hunter. And a few of them had actually grown up and with similar interests had sort of got their own supplement stores as well. And so I thought, this would be really cool. I'll go see if they like it. And I handed it out and that was all great. And they started, go, we might actually stock this. It's like, wow, this could be a thing. Like, this is an actual, this has come a long way from just, handwriting tubs. Problem is, about 3 weeks into those guys actually, putting a few tubs on the shelf, the stuff started going hard as a brick. And I mean, like, you can't even put it in a blender type hard. Like, it was a great pre-workout. It blew people's faces off, felt fantastic. Like, it was the first time the tropics had really been around much in the early days. It was really, really cool. Problem was, it was not stable. And the entire pallet of pre went to a rock, basically. We tried to restabilize it, tried to put excipients in, but the factory just didn't know how to do it. They were just amateur outfit, unfortunately. And it sort of burnt me from manufacturing in Australia for a good 2 years after that. I actually only started manufacturing in Australia again last January, I think it was, and this is 5 years next month. So it took me a long time to have faith that Aussies could bring the quality again. Because that was, horrific. Like, I only paid that personal loan off last year, actually.
Wow.
He carried me.
What year was this again? So
this was August 2015 was the very first time I rode on a tub and actually sold it.
That's when Dust V2 or Angel Dust was out, right?
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. That was the same year. That was cool. So that whole...
You remember that, Stu, that one?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a product that's been on the Australian shelves that I haven't tried at some point in time.
Isn't it fun, man? It's why I like working with you guys. We've all been around a while, and you get like we get so nostalgic and like affectionate when we talk about old pre's. Like you think about like the long lost era of like that particular time. So you got the Dust V2. That was the first time. What was it? What was the stimulant that was really big on that one?
Aracholine hydrobromide.
What was it, sorry?
I'm paraphrasing. Aracholine hydrobromide, and then they changed it to like alkaline, and we went to shit.
Oh, yeah.
The stimulant that was in there. Arco-fuel, the first one.
Arco-fuel. Yes, the noble orchid extract. Yeah, gotcha. Was that an AM citrate variant? I think it was. But,
yeah, it was. It wasn't one of the. I remember there was this craze for using dendrobium for a long time, but no one could really make it work. No one could make it pop. Like we kind of got after 1,3-dimeth got banned, everyone went, all right, well, let's go back to the plant extract that it comes from, and let's just use the raw plant extract. But it didn't really work. It didn't pop, right?
Yeah, it's tricky in botanicals versus synthetic versions, isn't it? It's like and sometimes it works the other way though. Like sometimes when I worked with straight just 1,3, like DMHA was one of my first pre-workouts, and that
I remember that one, the red tub.
Yeah, man, that was real hardcore branding too. Like that was very reflective of where I was at my life as a 25-year-old bodybuilder, keen on just get big or die. Eat spew every day, train to your spew. Like everything is just so hardcore intense at that age.
Dude, I met you when you were about 130 kilos.
Yeah, you did too.
I've seen some of the old pictures of you, Will, and it just cracks me up because I think we all went through that stage in our early 20s or even younger in our late teens when we just wanted to take up as much space as we could. Like you look like a giant puffer fish, and it was just like I just want to take up as much space as I can. Yeah. When I'm walking down the street, I want people to cross to the other side of the road. If someone's walking with their children, I want them to hide them in case I eat them. It was like I want to belong in a cage. Like just get me as big as I can. Don't care about body fat percentage. Yes.
You guys remember Trey Bra?
Yeah.
That guy got didn't like shit afterwards. So. Oh my god, that was the LPSN mess.
But I was looking at old photos of Will the other day when I was making some graphics for the podcast, and I was just like, look at the size of the melon on that guy. Like, just your head must have been at least 4 kilos heavier.
I think all of my androgen receptors are in my face. I think everything grows in my head. It's fucking retarded. But
so you get past the point, Will, where you've had a failed product due to no fault of your own. You had some manufacturer issues. You've got to a point where you've got a stable product that's phenomenal. Where do you go from there? How do you start building it from it being in 3 mate stores to it being a national success?
One store at a time, basically. It's as all of us know, being in a game where you think there's a bit, sort of a formula for overnight success. Unfortunately, every overnight success is 10 years in the making. It seems, so what it was essentially got this product stable, kept the focus on the formula part because I knew that the point of difference in my brand was always going to be formulas was the thing. Like I knew that I could make stuff cheaper. I knew I could make it more profitable if I cut out half the ingredients that I wanted to use. But that wasn't. I knew that was the short game. Anyone can put together a cheap pre, get it out there, and you might get someone will try it. They might try it once, but where you want to build that longevity and build something that can support can be a long-term brand is they have to try it and just be blown away every time. They have to, and that comes down to quality of ingredients and formulas. And so, I guess I just literally went out and would approach stores one by one. Literally every day would sit down, and I had to work full time because this is what you guys know. There's really not as much money in supplements as people think, especially at the start. So I work.
I always say this to people who say to me, "Oh, Stewie, I'm thinking about doing, my own supplement store or my own supplement
I get
brand."
that almost every day.
I say to them, "Look, if you want to do something that you're passionate about and you're happy to make no money doing it, get into supplements. If you want to make a whole lot of money, this is not this is not the avenue for you. The margins are low. The demand is not what people think it is. The competition is extreme. It is just not the marketplace where you want to go. If your primary goal is to make a lot of money, it's not the right industry to get into.
It's a brutal game, man. It really is. But it's good in that you make a. One of my favorite sayings was Joe Menzel actually said this, and he's on next week, which is awesome for Massive Joe's. And I was at I think it was down in the Arnold's in Melbourne with him having a chat, and he was saying everyone's squabbling over pieces of a pie. He said, stop fighting over pieces of the pie, grow the pie. Make everything, just grow the market, provide so much value and service and quality that there's physically more people attracted to your service rather than trying to take people off others. Just grow the overall market interested in that particular area. And I always thought that
and bring more people to the fitness industry.
Yeah, man, like grow the industry. Yeah. Like there'll be more people playing involved.
100%. And this is what I say as well. Everyone knows that the Illawarra is a highly contested area. Yeah. And for years and years, there's been, there's been a little bit of, I guess you'd say, a bit of back and forth, some mudslinging here and there. And I've always tried to stay outside of it where I can. And I've always said, the ideal situation is not that I'm doing well and everyone else is doing poorly. That's not the ideal situation. That means that our market is dead. The ideal situation is that we're all doing well. If we're all doing fantastic, we're all winners. So, there's no need to be slinging mud around and saying, oh, well, he said this, she said that, he's doing what I'm doing, and, all this sort of thing. It's like, hey, let's just all do well. Let's grow the industry together. Let's make this a really positive space and let's get it done. There's enough customers out there for everyone, and especially if you're creating new customers. So it's like the ideal situation has never been, destroy the competition and salt the earth where they once stood. It doesn't work. The industry's dead. If you're the only operation in town, it means that your town is not using supplements.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great bit of value, because people do focus too much on what the other people are doing as well. And we learned early on, you've got to stay in your own lane, because you get too distracted trying to keep up with the Joneses is a very much an Aussie thing. You look at others and you might think, oh, I need to, try and mimic this or whatever. And it never works. It's not genuine. Something has to be genuine. If you want to you can't do something for 5 years and fake it. You can't be close to bankruptcy 3-4 times in 5 years and fake it. Because you just give up. It's just shit. At points, you just go, this is just a horrible game. It costs you relationships. It costs you stress. It costs you money. You've got to be happy with being broke for years and years and years at a time. All of your friends and normal-minded people are going and getting careers and having stable families and having, houses. They're all doing the norm. You've got to be comfortable with being the outlier, the one that's happy to be broke and unstable and have constant.
I remember not long ago you were living at the warehouse. Not because you couldn't find a place. I remember at the time, and that's what you.
That's what he told you anyway.
Yeah.
No, man. I got the money. I just can't find a place. And then he goes over to the corner and pulls his little rag and stick out to wash himself.
Gets out his noodles.
Right. We lived here for months. Our lease ran out in October, and we didn't find a place till like the first week of Jan. I probably shouldn't say, because I think technically, legally, you can't live in an industrial estate, but we did.
Hey, we've all done it, mate.
Dude, I live in your store, bro. You've got snacks, you've got bars, you've got drinks.
He's got a gym. He's got a gym as well. There's $1 million worth of equipment.
There's a PT studio next door, and somehow they didn't cotton on that I was. They'd have their first class at 4:50, and the alarm they'd start with the boombox at start, and that was our alarm each morning. They'd blast the music for the class to start. You'd wake up.
They just thought you were super punctual, Will. How is he always the first here and the last to leave? How?
God, he works hard. Meanwhile, I'm just there putting the pillow over my head, like, fuck, just let me sleep. But and we're next door. It's a really it's a funny setup, because we've got across the road from us. There's a metal fabrication shop. To service, because here in Newey we're a mining community, right? So there's a massive fuck off warehouse next door to us that is 24 hours a day pumping out steel works, and then we're next to a commercial gym as well. So you've got both sides. The gym would close at night about 7, 8, 9 p.m. And then but the grinding next door would still go. They're still welding and pulling apart dump trucks and stuff next door. It was quite we didn't sleep for 3 months basically, but it's all fun as long as you're happy with being homeless for a while.
Bro, it was hot in there as well. Was that like during summer? It gets really hot there, man.
It's an actual tin shed, bro. It was it was effed. It was a really bleak time.
Getting back to the getting back to where you've sort of ended up, Will. So you've got to the point where you're now a nationally recognized brand. You've done the groundwork. You've knocked on doors. You've hit the pavement. You've gritted your teeth. You've gone through the crap. You've lost a shipment of stock. You've lost thousands of dollars and then built it back up again from scratch. And then you decide that you're going to, expand your wings and get into retail.
Yes, that was dumb.
We spoke about that, remember?
Yeah.
In Canberra, are you sure you're going to go from Newcastle to Canberra?
Oh, it was
like, I'll be right. Yeah, I'll be right. And 2 weeks later, you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, it was so dumb,
like
man.
5 hours travel down or something?
Each way, 500 Ks. A solid, because it's all highways. It was like 450 Ks each way. It was solid 5 hours. And it was the problem. So the thing is, because I built it here in the Hunter, and they're all mates of mine that own the stores that have supported me, I can't open a supplement store locally. I'd technically be competition to those that have supported me, so I couldn't do it. It'd be a dog act to have a supplement store in my own backyard where all my friends.
What if you sold from your warehouse to people who just want to buy direct from you because they relate to you? That's building the brand still.
He does. He's got his website. If you can jump on, what is it, primabolics.com?
Yeah, that's the one, man. We've got, that's about 1% of our turnover at the moment. It's one, because I'm technically retired. But yeah, look, I thought I had this store, and I thought, look, it'd be a great opportunity to do one. And there was one in Canberra, and I thought, look, Canberra's in the middle of nowhere. I don't stock anyone in that area currently. There's no one. I've never stocked anyone around there. I've got no competition for hundreds of kilometers. I've got there's plenty of competition, but I've got no people that I'm stocking that support me for hundreds of Ks. This should be the only place in Australia I could think of doing it that I could get to regularly, that would, otherwise show that I'm not competing with anyone that supports me. So I get down there. We open up this store, and we opened that up in August. And as of about November, obviously bushfires hit. Now that Canberra burnt down, like it was a state of emergency, as much of Australia was. But Canberra there was some massive fires around the national parks that surround Canberra. It's quite a rural town. If anyone's actually been there, it's a lot of farmland and a lot of, even in between the suburbs, it's a very combustible town, it turns out. So unfortunately, it literally got cindered, and we wouldn't have seen a customer because the smoke was so high that people were told not to leave the house as a breathing hazard from literally until about January. So open the store, gets 2 months of trading. We're still trying to figure out who the market is, how to do outreach, how to promote in the area. Boom, fires hit. That's about 3 months of impact. So November, December, January. February comes, we're like, okay, cool. We might be able to, everyone can breathe again. There's no smoke in the air. We're all cool. We'll have a go at recovery. And then obviously have a good month in
This is during TGA as well. Do you remember that?
This is all during the TGA rollout. So looking like they're also going to take
Before
off.
COVID, by the way.
Yeah, pre-COVID. So you've got TGA, you've got bushfires happening during that time as well. So it's looking like the industry's going to get shut down if it doesn't get burnt down. And then we get crawl through Feb, and Feb's like, okay, cool, we can catch a breather. People are finally coming out of their house, finally wanting to work on their fitness goals. We can do this. And then March hits and COVID starts. And we're like, essentially it was like
gyms are locked down.
Oh, gyms are locked down, and all of my poor friends who are PTs, coaches, gym owners, man, like, and supplement stores. We've all done it tough. Like, I'm not the only one who's had we've all had, like, we were 80% down. Like, we've all had a rough trot.
Anyone who owns a retail store, works in a retail store, say they did well during that time is full of shit. Yeah, in my opinion.
Essentially, man, you can't really expect to have done anything other than tragic in that period. But like, people were innovative though, which is what I loved. Like, to not make this doom and gloom. Like, we had a rough trot. Like, 6 out of the 8 months were horrific, and I decided to finish up that operation because retail takes so much love and attention. Like, you forget, when I did retail for the first few years, and I had to work full time while I was growing primer. So I do 1 day a week primer, 4 days at work, and do primer at night. Well, and then so. Over the time, I'd sort of not been in the store for a little while. And so I went, this should be doable. I just I can just hire good staff and that'll be fine. But it's not. You need the person with the passion there. You need the owner there putting their heart and soul to it every day of the week to make a retail store work. It's not something you can half.
Not even the owner, but just someone who gives a fuck and who wants to really have a crack.
Yeah.
Someone reliable.
Yeah, someone reliable. And I went through 6 staff in 6 months because they weren't reliable in a lot of cases. I found some golden teams toward the end, which I was really happy to work with those guys. But yeah, we just had staffing issues the whole way through too. So it was just, it wasn't the right time for us. But that was a very, it's good to learn these lessons at this age. It's good to be sub 30 and still, have learned mistakes in manufacturing and retail and wholesale. It's been a pretty tough 5 years, but it's meant that now we're not going to make as many mistakes moving forward, hopefully. So close that up because it was just a joke. But a lot of people pivoted, I think. A lot of people got the negativity of COVID on their mind. And I guess I'm somewhat of a hopeless optimist. And I think the amount of pivoting that happened in that space and how adaptable businesses were was amazing. Like Stu, man, you were selling toilet paper. You went out and started a local wholesale.
He actually gave away a whole bunch of hand sanitizer. He could have profited thousands and
I gave away over 800 rolls of toilet paper during the toilet paper famine of 2020. And I gave away over 50 liters of hand sanitizer for free to the community. And you actually had some people complain about that, right? I had to limit it to 2 rolls per family because I didn't have the means to supply the entire Illawarra with toilet paper. I had enough to give some to everyone, but the idea was hopefully this can buy you a little time. Not the idea was if you've got a 6-person family, I'm going to provide you toilet paper for the next 3 months while there's none on the shelves. So, but I had people abuse me and all sorts of stuff. I need more toilet paper than that, mate. But I'm giving this stuff away for free. And don't forget, I had to buy this stuff. I spent thousands of dollars on toilet paper and hand sanitizer to literally give to the community because I knew what it was like. I tried to buy toilet paper for my family and felt like a failure as a provider when I couldn't come home with any. And I went, you know what? Stuff that. I'm going to go out and buy some with my, because I had a company, I had the ability to buy from a commercial distributor. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to give it to people so no one else has to feel like I felt when I came home with no toilet paper for my family.
Just felt helpless, hey? It was just it was a really weird time, and it's been continuously weird for a long time. It's fascinating watching people. It shows the people who have actually managed to shine through all this are the people that have who demonstrate that they're very, very amazing business people and depth of character, really, because it's very easy right now with the amount going on to just pull up stumps and go you know what, it's just tough. I'm just gonna settle down and take it. The people who have come out swinging at this is it's impressive because it is very easy right now. It's been a very hard few months. What it was. So I think it's been a very, very hard time, but I think, man, and I think that's a pretty impressive one. I remember when you told me that story, Stu, with your angle, how did we get from a place where we were, you were out of toilet paper, and then I remember you saying, I've actually reached out to an actual distributor for toilet paper, but you had to buy 1,000 rolls or something ridiculous, a pallet of toilet paper you had to buy as an actual to try and be able to set up the wholesale account to actually buy it at all because they were so short stock. So how did that come about, man?
Look, well, I think it's gotten to, obviously you guys know a little bit about my background, but it's gotten to a point where I'm really, I guess, I'm a community supplement store. I'm totally the opposite of what a big chain supplement store is. And I guess I've kind of become a bit of an advocate for community-owned. I
felt when I first visited you, Stu, sorry to cut you off, I felt that immediately when I met you in 2017 when I was working with another distribution company. I felt that immediately walking into your store and having you welcome me. I think I was there for 2 hours just listening to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I mean, I think that comes from a lot of lessons that I learned from working for, big companies. And I hated the way that they played the game, and I wanted to do things differently. So, I guess that kind of ties into why I'm doing what I'm doing in the first place.
And that was, God, it's been a mix. God, you've done everything. Isn't it crazy that the varied background from all of us, though? You've dropped little pearls along the way in these last few podcasts where I've gone, oh, what? Your background was horticulture for a period? How the hell did you end up at a supplement store? What did you...
Yeah,
hey, talking about soil as well, I didn't really know much about soil until he started talking about it. Our vegetables aren't the same.
Well, that's right. So before. I guess to give you guys a quick rundown on on my story, and I'll try and keep it as quick as I can because, like you said, Will, there's literally a web of things that I've done, and you could go off on any deviant course and say, hey, look, what was that experience like? What was that experience like? But to give you the briefest rundown I could of who I am and what I do in the industry. Started out in horticulture, which seems like a strange starting point, but it was something where I was interested in I guess in chemistry. Really was where it started, and I left school in year 10, so I couldn't go straight to uni. I didn't have my HSC, so I left and went and did horticulture, which led to becoming a landscaper, which I hated, by the way, but I really found this passion for, for the biology side, and especially the molecular biology and the biochemistry side of plants, and that's where I started, and I was really, really interested in it. And, I found some, I guess, correlations between plants and humans and the way that they work and the way that we work. And then that led into, looking into different plant compounds, botanical extracts. And like you said, Will, I'd already been interested in fitness for a long time, but I was doing all the classic stuff that we all do, where it's like, you read the Muscular Development magazine and, you might read, oh, well, this particular bodybuilder, he enjoys eating cheese. So then you go out and you buy like 12 kilos of cheese, and that's the answer. How to get big. Or this bodybuilder uses NO Explode. So then you go out and buy.
I remember that.
Yeah, the BSN days. They
2006.
That'd be about right, wouldn't it? The BSN era.
Yeah, Ronnie Coleman, the master.
Yeah, so that's where I was at. I had a passion for fitness, and I knew I wanted to work in the industry. I just didn't know at what capacity. So I eventually, this is fast forward a lot. I eventually got into personal training, and I scored myself a job as store manager at Aussie Supp Shell Harbour, which is now Elite Supp Shell Harbour. So the store.
What year was that, Stu?
This was 2009 when I started in the supplement industry. So, So
how old were you then?
I've been around a while. Oh, geez, I'd have to do some maths on that. Look, I don't want to give my age away, but let's just say I'm in my 30s.
But back then you were in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I've always been a very, very hard worker. I think if you want to have success in anything, you need to be the hardest worker in the room, especially when it comes to owning a business, running a business. Like Will said, there's a lot more work in it than what anyone sees from the outside. Yeah. People think that there's such a thing as a passive income. I don't believe that exists. I truly don't believe that exists, unless you're investing in something like property. But anyways, I ended up working in a supplement store. I quickly progressed to the state manager of Aussie Supps. But truth be told, I really, really hated the way that the company was. It was a big commercial company, and the bottom line was the main focus. It was like, whatever product we can make the most money off, that's the product we push onto the customer, regardless of what you believe in, regardless of how if you think it's effective or not. And I kind of refused to do that. So I sold a lot of the products that I believed in, and there was a lot of products that would sit on my shelves that I didn't move because I just purely didn't believe in them, and I would cop a lot of grief from that. So that was, I guess, my first taste of the retail world and the supplement industry, and I hated it. I hated selling people something I wouldn't use myself. During that time as well, I also became a part of, I guess, the inner circle of King Sports and NDA. So I did a lot of stuff on the back end for those companies. I helped with formulations of some of the
who are King Sports? Let people know who King Sports are, by the way.
So King Sports were a big distributor at the time.
What were they distributing?
King Sports used to do GAT. They were the distributor of GAT. They did Beaton Court.
I remember that one.
Yeah, Betancourt was cool. I remember the packaging now. Betancourt did was that Bullnox or what?
Yeah, Bullnox. Yep, Equinox, all that stuff. King Sports did a lot of importing of big US brands, but they were really into sort of pulling unique pre-workouts in. They did a pre-workout that was a standalone called Red Rum. They did a few different things that people would remember if you sort of turn your memory back to that time. But King Sports, NDA, Aussie Supps, they were essentially all the same company. And a lot of people didn't know that. So, even those on the inside weren't really truly aware of how interconnected it all was. So I did a lot of work for NDA and King Sports, mainly on the back end. I never sort of was a face for any of the companies. But those who are on the inside already know who I am, and a lot of those guys are still in the industry. But needless to say, there was some really shonky stuff that went down. I was never really privy to exactly what happened, but basically the companies collapsed. NDA, King Sports, Aussie Supps all collapsed together. It was almost like a domino effect.
The Aussie Supps was a big collapse. That affected a lot of people, and people who are still retailers now in the
100%
Wollongong area. And like the retail store that I purchased was actually previously an Aussie Supps as well, before it got rebranded by another manager who unfortunately was also burnt by that situation. So
we all got badly burned by the collapse of those companies. So Aussie Supps at one point we had 20 stores Australia wide. Wow. It was a powerhouse. It was one of
I remember there was one in Sydney City, right?
Yep, we had one in the CBD. We had multiple stores in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and it was charging along. But through, I guess, some upper management decisions, the whole thing collapsed.
Quite sad because they were really dominant, and who knows where it would have been if they could have been 100+ stores now.
100%.
The right thing. Yeah.
The other thing too was that another interconnected company at the time, and this is totally separate now, was Gold's Gym Australia. So they were the master franchisor for Gold's Gym Australia, which I bought into.
Shout out to Gold's Gym.
Yeah, Gold's Gym, amazing company now. Definitely not related with that old owner, but those guys got burnt pretty hard by the same companies.
Yeah, that's interesting. They came together because there was also a Gold's in the suburb in Canberra where I had a store, and I knew that was somehow intertwined with the Aussie Supps era.
Yeah, that's right. So I had bought a house when I was 24. Like I said, I've always been a hard worker. I've always been really, really tough on myself with saving and stuff. And I managed to buy a house at 24. Over the following 3 years, the housing market did incredibly well. So I made a lot of money.
What year was this, Stu?
This would have been by about 2012.
After 2008 when
Yeah. So things boomed and I made a lot of money on my house. So I bought a 3-bedroom house down here for $320,000. And I sold it.
Which is unheard of now, right?
That's right. I sold it for around just under $600,000 only a few years later. So I made quite a lot of money
at the time when you did that. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. Dude. Yeah.
But I invested all of that money into buying into the Gold's Gym Illawarra franchise, which I owned with a business partner. We got a developer on board who was building us a $4 million facility. Earthworks had started. This was going to be the crown jewel of Gold's Gym Australia. And the upper management, I guess, decided that they were going to play a little bit of dodgy ball, and we lost everything. I had to go to the construction site where there was bulldozers and earthworks and tell them, stop, we've lost our license. I got a call from Gold's Gym US to say, your license agreement is null and void, and the money's all gone. So I lost everything I had. Everything I'd worked for up until that point was gone. It was pretty rough.
That was stung, man.
Yeah, it was like a few $100,000 tied up.
It stung. It hurt, and I didn't have really much left to my name. I had about $20,000 left to my name, and I decided to go out and do something different to what Aussie Supps had done. I wanted to
lost $5 back then in the toilet, and I still think about it today. $5.
Oh, Jesus, a few $100,000. Yeah. I felt bad with my pallet of pre, mate. Jesus. God.
Oh, yeah, it was rough. But, I mean, at that point in time, I kind of stood there and I said, you know what, I can roll over and die, or I can get up and push forward. I said to myself, there was a point in time where I had nothing, and there was a point in time where I had something, and someone's hit the reset button. Like when you're playing a video game and your little brother or sister runs up and hits reset, you will always get back to that point where you were at, all right? If you want to work for it. You can cry and run away and not come back to the PlayStation for 3 months, or you can say, all right, they hit the reset button, I'm pissed off, but I'm going to build back up. I'm going to get back up to that level. So I did. I said, I'm going to start a supplement store, but I'm going to do something totally different to what anybody else is doing in nutrition. I'm going to make sure that I'm the polar opposite to what Aussie Supps was. And these were my cardinal rules. I will only stock products that I believe in. I will only stock products that I would use myself, and I will only stock products that are backed by the science. If I can't say that about any of the products that are in my store, they're not in my store. I want to be the supplement store where people can come and they can trust that every single product on my shelves is effective. And that was the whole theory behind it. The other thing too was with my customer service, my strategy is simple. Every single customer that walks through the door, I will treat them better than I treat my mother. And it's been, I guess, a recipe for success for myself and my
So
store.
you were telling me that you used to take notes down of customers, new customers, of like their dog's name, if they've had a baby, things like that.
100%. So I think it's really important that people feel that you know them on a personal level. Now, I could deal with a few hundred customers a week. And if I don't know personal things about them, then they're not going to feel that personal connection. And it's hard. It's hard when you're remembering a few hundred people in a week's name. So there's no harm in taking notes. Someone comes into the store as a new customer and, you take little, I guess, cues from them immediately. So let me give you an example. Someone comes in and they're wearing a Parramatta Eels hat. Write down Parramatta Eels supporter. They start telling you about their training, what they do. They name their gym. Trains at Anytime Fitness Figtree. You ask them what they've been up to. Yeah, just taking my dog for a walk. Has a dog. Ask them their dog's name. Dog's name is Fido. Next time that customer comes back in, what do? Hey, how's it going, Bill? What about those Eels on the weekend? They copped a flogging, didn't they? Oh, yeah, the bastards. And how's Fido going? And the next thing you know, you've created this personal connection with customers, and they really, really are receptive to that. It's much easier to sell to a friend than it is to sell to a customer. And I make sure that all of my customers are my friends. Not feel that they're my friends. I make sure that they're my friends. If I see a customer outside of the shop, I'll go up, I'll say hi to them, I'll have a conversation with them, I will give them my time.
So you're not just so transactional. You're
no,
like
and it's not so much like, that might sound like, he's falsely tricking people into feeling like they're his friends. I want to make them my friends. I tell every single customer who comes into my store, here's your product, transaction's done. Look, if you have any questions, if you want to ask me about diet, if you want to ask me about training, come in and talk to me. You don't need to be buying anything to come in here and talk to me. I love it. If you give me the chance, I'll talk your ear off. And they do. People come in just to chat. It's not always about buying something. I've never made it about that. But from that, the sales follow. So the focus is on the customer. The focus has never been on the sales. And I've never had to worry about the numbers. I've never had to worry about the sales. The sales take care of themselves. If you focus on the sales, you will destroy your own business through pushing products onto people, through pushing upsells onto people. Just focus on the customer. Ask them what they're trying to do and figure out what they need. If you can deliver real results, the customer will come back.
That's so true with everything, with wholesale in particular. So you too, Matty, you've noticed that if you the money comes as a byproduct, right? Like if you're providing your service, providing value, the sales come as a result. Money should be the byproduct, not the pursuit, right?
And it is.
You'll see that in a wholesale. It's all relationship as well. Like we do it with, we're all very, very close mates with all of our retailers, anyone who supports us and all that sort of jazz. And you find that too, Matt, right? Like they stop becoming, they're no longer, accounts anymore.
No, I don't like that word, man.
It's disgusting, isn't it? And you end up texting him out. Yeah, you text him at 5 a.m. saying, "Hey, how's your home workout going?" You text him at night saying,
"Yeah, I'll get a guy that calls me at least 6 times a day, and
his name's Stu Shannon."
You know what, Stu? Following what you're saying, I remember when I was in your store and we were discussing. Like at the time, I was very new to the game, and we were discussing like deals, and you said to me, "Look, I don't care about deals and margins, whatever. I just want to know I want a good product." That's what I care about. So don't worry about deals or anything like that. I just want to give my customers a good product.
That's how I've always been. So if you present me a new product and you can show me how it works.
And you guinea pig it as well. You'd be like, fucking, there's a new pre-workout. You get a scoop. You're like, let's go. Bang.
Yeah. That's one thing I've always been able to say is that there is not a product on my shelves, there is not a flavor on my shelves that I have not tried. So if you ask me, what does sour gummy worms flavor of Total War taste like, I can give you my description of it. If you tell me what does fruit punch taste like in this terrible brand, which obviously I wouldn't stock here, but I'll be able to tell you, I make sure that every single product on my shelves I've used at least once, so I can tell you about it. I would not sell your product I wouldn't use myself. It's part of my entire thing. So
how do you get around, like, I don't want to name any brands, but the mainstream fat burner as an example, you don't stock them in your store because you don't believe in the product. How do you
No.
get around that with customers? If you don't mind me
So
asking?
I guess, I think that there's going to be
Push
products
pull
out.
products.
There's going to be products
Yeah.
out there that I don't believe in. Okay, and there's going to be, and that's fine. There's going to be some people who love that product and use that product, and that's fine too. Like my way of doing things is, I guess, very specific to me. So I'm never, ever, ever going to talk down a brand I don't stock, and that's hugely important to me. Just because I don't believe in a brand, doesn't mean I'm going to fill the customers' heads with ideas about a brand that I don't happen to stock. So what I will do though is when they come in and suggest a brand that I don't believe in, I'll start by, I guess, making them comfortable with the fact that they've used it. You don't want to make someone feel like an idiot because they've used something that you don't use yourself. So what I'll say is, hey, look, great product. I've got, I know people who use it. I know people who swear by it. Personally, I don't stock it because I stock this product, and this product. And here's the reasons why I stock them. I like to keep my range small. I'm very selective with what I put in here. And I believe that these are the 4 best products on the market. What I'll then usually do is I'll say, I'd like you to try this product. Give it a try for me. If you can try this product and honestly tell me that you don't like it, I will buy you a tub of that other product that you're using from the competitor, and I'll buy that for you and you can use it for free. If you can honestly tell me that you don't prefer this product that I'm selling. I'll tell you what, I have never had someone take me up on that and make me buy whatever brand it was that they were originally asking about, because I stock products that work. I stock products that are clinically dosed. I stock products that are backed by the science. And I am so confident in them that I know that there is no humanly possible way that they will prefer the product that they came in to buy.
What if that customer wants, I'm going to ask you the hard questions. What if the customer, that ideal product right there that you don't believe in is a pull product into your brand? So maybe they don't need to buy that particular product, say once or twice. And then like, well, you know what, I've actually experienced this myself. Let's say some product you're talking about, Stu, that you're harping on about. Let's give that a crack.
Yep. So once they've tried the product that I'm trying, are you asking what's the next move?
Oh, do you feel that like if you had the mainstream product on your shelf, it would be beneficial to organically get them to try?
Some people would do that. So that's a tool that's commonly used where you stock a small
products.
Yeah, you stock a small amount of a big brand on your shelf so that the customer doesn't feel like you're trying to sell them on another product just because you don't stock that product. So you can go, look, I stock it, but don't get that. I've got a better product for you. That's not the way to do things for me personally. That's fine. A lot of guys do things that way, but I feel there's an element of dishonesty in that because I never ever had the intention of selling that product. So I don't put products on my shelf that I don't want you to use. If I don't want you to use it, it's not in my store. Yeah, even if it's a huge money spinner. So there's some big brands that I could stock, which I choose not to, that I'm getting asked for every single day. In my opinion, some of the most popular products on the market right now are some of the least effective products on the market.
God, yeah. And that's where it started, man. That's exactly where it started. Those huge multi-million dollar multinational companies that put out products that had more in their marketing budget than in their formula. It was just, we've all seen them and they still exist. And
there's nothing wrong with them. They're the best selling. And they, for me and you guys, I'm sure we bought these products at the start, and then they pulled us into the supplement industry.
Well, I think there's always something positive that can be taken from any negative. So, all right, I don't believe in these products. That's great. But just because I don't believe in them doesn't mean that there's no place for them. So let's take a fat burner and let's say I don't believe in it. I feel that it's underdosed. I feel it's far too mild for my range. I would never use it. I would never put a friend on it. It doesn't mean that it's not an entry-level product for someone who's never touched supplements before. So they might be just looking for something as an entry into the supplement world. They want to try something that's not going to rattle them. They want to try something that, they just want to get a feel for what it's like to have supplements. And hey, that, like you said, that opens up a new world for them. They go, wow, I just took this product. I didn't really see the results that I wanted, but what else is out there? So it's like a gateway into this world of supplements where they can find some truly effective stuff that's clinically dosed that we can actually show with peer-reviewed studies and clinical trials, this works. This does what it's supposed to do. And I think that it's really important to note, as a supplement store, right, we're classified as a health food store. but we're not really selling food. What we're selling is results. So you're not coming in to buy something to drink. You're coming in to buy fat loss, or you're coming in to buy more muscle, or you're coming in to buy recovery. And I've always seen it this way, is that that's what they're buying. They're not buying a product, and I need to sell them results. If they're spending their money with me, I must deliver you that result. If you've just given me $100 or $200 or $300, whatever it is, I must make sure that you see the result you've come in to buy. So if you're coming in and saying, Stu, I want to lose weight, I will not give you a product and let you leave with it, because I know that without some extra information, you're not going to see fat loss. So what I will do is I'll sell your product and I'll say, all right, I need to do, we need to have a little chat. Let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about your output. Let's talk about tracking steps. Let's talk about your water intake. Let's talk about your sleep. And I'll sell the product alongside those things so that they will definitively see weight loss. That's what they came in to buy. I came in, I spent $70 on weight loss. I expect to see weight loss. Should I fail to deliver that, I've ripped the customer off, and that's not what I'm about.
Correct. I remember I had a customer come in, and he didn't have much money. He had $50, and he asked me, he wants to put on weight. He was really skinny, and he only $50, man. I'm like, dude, I got a piece of paper out. I wrote down cheap foods for him to buy: tuna, eggs, potatoes, rice, things like that. I go to Woolies or go to Coles or go to your groceries and go buy that before you can go buy supplements.
100%. And this is something that I'm a huge advocate for. Food first, supplements second. So I want 90% of the results to come from what you're doing and what you're eating before we talk about supplements.
The supplements complement your diet, your nutrition, your food.
So the way that I explain supplements to people is supplements can amplify the effectiveness of what you're already doing. So do we have supplements that can make things faster and easier? Yes, we do. Do we have supplements that can do 100% of the work for you? No. So if you're willing to do some work, we can amplify that tenfold. But amplifying zero is still zero. So if you want to buy supplements, but you want to sit on the couch and do nothing, you're still going to see zero results. The supplements can't do the work for you. And I see a lot of people, on the internet saying, oh, supplements are bogus. Supplements don't do anything. But I think these are the people who have bought supplements expecting them to do the work for them.
It's like fishing. If I go fishing and you're selling me prawns, but I don't have a fishing rod, which is my nutrition, how am I want to chuck the prawns at the fish?
Exactly right.
Hopefully they come magically running up to my boat.
Exactly right. And I think people want to use, I think someone, let's say, for example, someone who's, in a bit of sloppy shape, they've never really achieved the results. I think sometimes they want to blame supplements for the fact that they don't have the work ethic to get this done. So you can't say, oh, well, I took the supplement and I'm not ripped like Arnold Schwarzenegger, therefore supplements don't work. I think that really when I see someone saying, oh, supplements don't work, they're bogus, blah, 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 they haven't had a look at any of the science.
How hard was it for when you and Will competed? I've never competed before because I couldn't do it. But you guys competed. How hard was it to get down to that low percentage body fat?
It's extremely hard. I mean, supplements are a part of it. Definitely. Right. Supplements are a part of it. But the biggest part is what you do and what you eat. Right, Will?
Look at when we spoke to there are you can't fake the output that you're required to do what your body doesn't want to do. And if you're trying to lose body fat, your body doesn't want to do that. Our survival mechanism is body fat's protective. Muscle mass is metabolically expensive to keep. It doesn't need mountains and mountains of muscle. It doesn't need it. It's just expensive to keep around. And you're trying to keep something that's very expensive metabolically to keep, and also lose body fat, which is your body's survival store, and thing that it views as good. It's healthy to have body fat, even though our culture now demonizes having body fat as, it's actually our survival store. So, you're trying to tell your body to keep the expensive stuff and get rid of the cheap, healthy stuff. And it doesn't want to do that. So you've got to really force it into a very uncomfortable place a stress on it that it doesn't really want to have there to actually, cause change. And you see, look, we spoke to that Daniel Knus the other week, and he was on 1,900 calories as a near 6 foot male with, doing an hour of treadmill walk per day.
That's insane.
20,000 steps plus an hour of weight training. He was in the gym for 4 hours a day, on 1,900 calories, which I'd barely diet most females on. This is in the last few weeks of comp, and you're like, you just physically can't. It doesn't, that's where it gets to a point where you go, okay, the supplements to help along that way, but at some point you just got to do some really filthy stuff. You just
Well, that's an interesting point that you make there, Will, and I think it's something that people really don't understand is exactly what you said. And I guess the simplest way you can put it is, in order to create the state of health that we're all trying to achieve, we have to directly oppose what our evolution is telling us to do. We have to be in direct opposition of that. So our evolution tells us store fat for survival. Those of us who have the ability to store more fat, in 100,000 years ago, they would survive. They would survive famine. They would
That is
survive
me.
times. They would survive. So if you are someone who stores fat easily, technically speaking, you're more highly evolved than someone who doesn't. You would have survived. Those who could not store fat would have perished. And so survival of the fittest goes into work. And eventually we end up with a society with this genetic predisposition to store fat because it allowed us to survive for so many hundreds of thousands of years. Now, you can't switch that off in a few hundred years. We haven't had grocery stores for long. We haven't had Uber Eats for long. And our body can't evolve to know that there is no famine coming. Well, in the Western world anyway, there's definitely famine out there. So don't get me wrong on this point. But the Western world is what we're talking about. And this is where we have this obesity issue. The famine doesn't exist anymore, but the evolutionary trait still exists. And the same can be said for building muscle. In order to build muscle, we need to ask the body to do more than what it's ever done before. This is called progressive overload. So in order to grow new muscle, you need to ask the muscle to do something that it's never done. Now, this is painful. This is very, very painful. And most people, this is the reason most people fail in the gym, is because you need to switch off a mechanism called self-preservation in order to build muscle. So self-preservation is built into almost every single living creature, or all living creatures. And it's the mechanism that tells you must survive. You must maintain life at all costs, and you must make things as easy as you can for yourself. It's the same mechanism that generally stops animals from suiciding. Humans are one of the only creatures that can suicide because they can switch off self-preservation. When you're in the gym, your ability to switch off self-preservation determines whether you are going to be able to build significant muscle or not. Can you put yourself through torturous pain? If the answer is yes, you will be able to build muscle. If the answer is no, you will not be able to build muscle. So what I'm asking is, can you take a knife and can you stab it into the back of your hand? The people who can will be able to build significant muscle. The people who cannot do that probably will never be able to build significant muscle. So you need to be able to switch off self-preservation, which is another evolutionary trait, to build significant muscle. And you need to work against the evolutionary trait of fat storage in order to get your body fat percentage down. So to look this way is going in direct opposition to everything that our body is telling us to do. We look at a muscular person who has a low body fat percentage and we say, well, that's how our body should be. So why isn't this easy? These are the reasons it's not easy.
It's not meant to be. Like, everyone goes, oh, abs are healthy. They're not. Like, being at a body fat percentage where you have visible abdominals is in a place where your body is, in a survival situation or famine or whatever, evolutionarily speaking, could be only weeks away from starving to death. So we as a society think you have to have peeled abs year round to be, the picture of fitness. It's not at all.
It's like when you watch UFC fighters, they're not that lean in the octagon on show day as they are like in off season when they're training. They're not going to be that low body fat.
It's not an optimal place for performance either. But getting there isn't optimal. It's not meant to be. We just, for some reason, we think it is, and I guess unfortunately we're set up in some points as well, because there is things like built into you, like what they call translational epigenetics. Epigenetics, or your environmental impact on your genes. Translational is from like multi-generational. Let's say your grandparents were alive during a famine. They're alive during the Great Depression. They're alive during wartime. Food was scarce. They had their actual, microbiome, their gut bacteria would change to be able to utilize more calories from food. So you'd eat less and extract more from it. That's still, they've actually found
hijack more nutrients.
Get more calories from less input. And they found that the people, so let's say your parents grew up during a great famine, that was actually, they found that got translated across multiple generations. So you are instantly set, if you're set up in a place where your body is very efficient, it can pull a lot of calories out of very little food. Unfortunately, in a Western society where there's a lot of calories very cheaply available, you're probably going to be very well set up to gain body fat easily. And this is how we see people who just have a natural propensity to store body fat. This is one particular factor. There's also obviously hormonal stuff, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I think another important point to make is and people will say, well, if that's the case, why am I being told that being obese is a negative thing? And you need to, once again, you need to look at our evolution, and you need to look at the way the human body works. The most imminent threat to life is always the priority for our body. So we look at fat storage and we say, okay, well, this is negative for our longevity, right? We're obese. We see more diseases. We see lower ages of mortality. There's all sorts of things, diabetes related with it. So people say, well, why has our body evolved a trait that kills us earlier? The fact is that it will kill you in the long term, okay? But in the short term, that fat storage will allow you to survive. So what is the most imminent threat to your life? Is it dying of starvation now, or is it a heart attack at 60? The most imminent threat to life is dying of starvation now. So I will store that fat regardless of the fact that I may develop diabetes, cancer, and die of a heart attack at 60. So this is the reason why your body is comfortable to store fat, even though it's unhealthy for your body. Even though it's unhealthy long-term, your body will do it because your body is trying to protect you from the imminent threat of death.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive to what we're trying to achieve, isn't it? Build muscle, lose fat. It's actually, it's not exactly how we're geared, because we're not geared for aesthetics. We're animals, we're made to survive. We're made to procreate. We're not designed. It's like things like we see hormonal crashes during prep. When you take away calories and your starvation there, your hormones drop because procreation is a priority if a species is starving. We're actually, we are very much, humans are an animal. We're designed in certain ways.
You're an animal, Will. Look at the pecs on you, you big animal.
He's looking like Wolverine.
Go for the Jackman look. It's good to see other Aussies succeed. But yeah, look, I think this it's quite funny what we've gotten to the point in the fitness industry where we idolize things. Social media has really influenced that, where you have to be at 6% body fat year round or you're not. And I think it affects us. We've all been in the bodybuilding game and so on for a long time, and you look at it and you feel like a failure when you're younger growing up, going, oh, why don't I have abs all year round, or why don't I look like the pros do all year? And they're either genetic freaks, very, very, very enhanced, or they're
the anomaly.
They're the anomaly. They're the 1 in a million. It's why they're the pros. Like if you look at the Mr. Olympia stage, you're looking at the top 10 competitors, 10 people over the entire globe. If you look at 7 billion people as a population, these literally are like 1 in several hundred million freak genetics.
No.
They can, like, their wiring is against the norm. They build muscle and lose
Same
fat.
as NBA players, if you want to go that, like NBA players, this is freaks, man.
Yep.
So tall and lean and just so agile. It's
I've got a theory about NBA players, but it's a little bit controversial, and I won't share it this episode because we're getting a bit short on time. But I'd love to get into that at some other stage with you guys, because I think that there's some growth hormone usage that we're not being told about.
That might be an interesting topic one day. And get some.
I mean, look at LeBron James, man. He's 35 and playing better than 20-year-olds, man.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Obviously with experience, but he's so agile and so healthy.
Healthy is an interesting term. You don't hear much in the fitness industry anymore, isn't it? Ironically, and I think that might be a good point for a future episode. I think for doing things like the dark side of fitness per se, or maybe people don't see that when you're a week out from you finish in the middle of a fight camp, or you're a week out from stepping on stage, you're actually physiologically in your worst health you've ever been. You're walking around fainting, not able to focus on things, just feeling like.
Isn't that funny? Do you find that like being called an athlete in bodybuilding? Are you really an athlete? Because when you're about to walk on stage, you feel like you're going to pass out, I'd imagine.
Yep.
Whereas an NBA player or a football player or whatever sport, they need to be at their optimal peak physically and mentally.
Let me answer that one. I'd say yes, you're still an athlete, but you got to realize that the day of the bodybuilding stage, that's not the game. So when you watch a basketball player, the game is when they're running around on the court shooting baskets in the hoop, right? That's the game. The game of bodybuilding is played for 6 months before the show. So that's when the sport occurs. The sport occurs when you're not watching.
But no one sees that, bro. No one
sees it, but the sport is still there. So all you're seeing, I think bodybuilding is more like a car show. All right. When you build a car, the blood, sweat, and tears goes into the car over sometimes years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars can be spent on a beautiful car. The day of the show really is just, let's show everyone what I've been working on for the last 5 years. And it's the same with bodybuilding. The sport of bodybuilding happens for the 12 months before the show. The day of the show is just, all right, let's just have a look at the picture. Let's see what they've been building. Let's see what the outcome of the sport is. That's all the show is. But the sport itself is in the gym.
Could you see bodybuilding in the Olympics?
No. I don't think that's its place.
And that's a good point, actually. The athletic angle of it. You're right. That's a really interesting sort of angle is to bring to the table. Is like it's not always. We aren't athletically gifted. We're not always, the strongest per se. They're not the most, the fittest at all.
Like, are they functional? Not
at all, mate. Not at all.
Yeah,
when you get that certain size, you're not at all. Like, you're sitting at like 125, Matt. When I was at 130. Everything was hard. You tie your shoes up and you get puffed. You walk upstairs, you're puffed, and you're forcing down more food than your body wants to be able to digest. You're bloated. You're heavy. Like you're trying to force feed multiple times a day. Like it's not a functional, healthy place where your body's able to do things well. I'm a lot more agile, happy, and healthy now at 110 than I ever was. But it's interesting, man. Like we're not functional at all when you're. There's optimizing, and then there's there's to get maximal performance, and there's optimal. And a lot of times to get maximal results, it's not optimal for health. You'll see that with all top athletes. You look at the guys who are there's to get maximal, true top performance. Isn't always what's optimal for the health to get there. With a lot of competitive sports, that's the truth, sadly. It's an interesting little thing, isn't it? You got to nearly kill yourself to get maximum results, but we all look at it as the idol of what's the gold standard.
Yeah.
They might be nearly dead next week. It's an interesting dichotomy. But look, I think that almost wraps us up for time-wise, though, gentlemen. I believe we'll covered some interesting ground here all the way.
This is a good episode, man. We're going to do more of these little banger ones, us three.
Yeah,
it's definitely good fun. I think me and Will both definitely skimmed over our careers as best as we could. But I mean, there's so many more things we could talk about. Like, we could talk about formulations and how we go about things, the process that we take. I mean, I've done custom formulations for big companies before, and I know Will's done a little bit of consulting as well. So there's so many more things we could cover, so many more avenues we've done that we didn't even get to touch on today. But I think that we'll make the three of us a regular occurrence between guests because I think these episodes are really relatable for our listeners.
Yeah, they're good. There's a fair few gems in here that are good. And it shows what goes on behind the scenes, a bit of the highlight and the low light reel behind business as well. And I think this is if nothing else.
Process.
Yeah, process, man. The process is where you got to see what the grind looks like behind three people who are having a go at something. That's got some value, I think, for people to see it. The low light reel as well as the highlight behind it, and figure out if we can give them some information how to get there. Hopefully, it's of value to someone. So, all
right, I'd like to close on a quote from the one and only warren-davey.
Oh, here we go.
And I believe it. Hang on, I might even have it in front of me. Where are we? Here we go. This is a quote from Will, guys.
Oh, no.
And
I
think he just put it so eloquently and so well. He said, and this is about business. He said, "It's not as easy as people think. The goal is to get from A to B, from nothing to something. But there are a lot of beatdowns between A and B." And I don't think anything could be truer than that. The beatdowns are part of the process. If you're trying to become successful at something, you're going to get beat down a hell of a lot.
Yeah, you got to get back up and keep moving forward, man. Keep walking. Dust yourself off. Have a crack.
Yeah, good attitude, gents. It's good to see. It's something we can put across the future episodes of the podcast. So without further ado, let's call this an episode, guys. Thank you so much for your time yet again. We'll have plenty of these coming forward in the future.
For sure.
See you guys.
Thank you kindly.
See you guys.